Oh, hello and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the playlist in the NuCamp Bootcamp web series. This will be going over week 2 of the Web Development Fundamentals course. Week 2 is a basic introduction to CSS. So I'll basically be going over kind of what they taught during week 2, the difficulty, the speed. I'll give what I thought about the assignment at the end of the week. And yeah, at the end, just my overall thoughts on, how they presented the information and how I feel that I took it in. So let's get started. This one will be a lot quicker than the last one. So yeah, let's jump right into it. So if I remember correctly, I think at the beginning of this week they're going to have you download a new app for typing in the code or the info. The name of the website you're going to have to go to is CodePen. It's pretty straightforward, pretty nice app to use. It kind of just lets you go in and write your code without having to I don't know how to explain this, without having to put in all the details like HTML, doc type, blah blah blah, the meta, UTF-8. You basically can just go into CodePen and just start typing right away without setting all of the parameters, and it still will output the information. Hopefully that made sense. But as far as downloading any kind of new apps or information, that is all you really have to do, and it is actually very helpful while you are learning CSS for week 2. But anyway, in the first module for the week, they basically give you a brief history of what CSS is. They explain what it stands for, some basic terminology, and so if you don't know, CSS is basically used for styling, as they say. So adding colors, changing fonts, that sort of thing, adding margins, changing the look of the page. So HTML, if you don't know, would be more for, I guess, actually inputting text and documentation, images. CSS would be for laying out your page. Like I said, adding text, adding the font size, colors, all that kind of good stuff. So in the first module, like I said, they go over a brief history and they give the basic syntax, or I guess kind of model of how you write the language. Okay, so very simple, straightforward in this one. And at the end of the first module, you have like a little simple exercise that you have to do. It's called, and they show you the 3 different ways that you can add CSS to a document, to an HTML document. So, like I said, pretty basic in the first one, pretty easy stuff. Well, I won't say easy. This was actually kind of a shock to me, the syntax or the language, the way that it's written compared to the HTML. I thought after week 1, I felt that I had a pretty good grasp on the HTML syntax, but right off the bat, when you see the new CSS syntax, it can be a little bit of a shock because it's so much different from the HTML format. But like I said, they go at a pretty slow pace in the first module, so it kind of gives you some time to wrap your head around it. Anyway, after the first module, they move on to the second one. They go a little bit deeper into CSS and some of its functions. Let's see. Yeah, I won't get into the nitty gritty, but they go, like I said, more into some of the functions, some of its capabilities, and they give like a little deeper dive. After that, you have another exercise. Once again, pretty straightforward. It's easy to follow along. You're basically just going in and changing the code that they already provide for you. So nothing crazy. It is a lot of new information coming at you. So once I got to the second module in week 2, I felt like my brain was about to explode because it was just not so much that it was so complicated, just the fact that there was so much new information to take in and to digest. So for week 2, trust me, be ready for a lot of information. Your head is going to feel like it's going to explode. But like I said, they still go at a slow pace, even though it is a lot of information. So I don't know, stick with it, go over it multiple times, and eventually it'll start making sense to you. But just be ready. It's going to be a lot of new information coming at you, especially if you've never seen, if you're like me, new to these languages and you've never seen anything like this, just be ready. So yeah, they go in the second module of week 2, they go over some more information. They dive a little bit deeper into some of the functions of CSS, and there's another exercise. So after that, and the third module, so the third module is a challenge. So they're kind of tying it all together, and they kind of they show you a picture of what you're going to be doing, and you have to manipulate the code in CSS, and you have to get it to look like, you have to get the output to be the same as what they show. It's pretty interesting. This challenge in the third module, it actually helps to kind of bring everything together. Because the first 2 modules, you're just learning so much new information. It's like an overload. It seems like you're learning something from here, then something there, and it's kind of scattered. But they did a good job in the third module, because the challenge, as they call it, the code challenge, it kind of puts everything together, and it really shows you what you've learned and how to put it together to create something on a page. So that was very nice. And once again, they walk you through it. They don't leave you out to dry. They don't throw you to the lion's den, so to speak. They walk you through it. But yeah, part 3 is the code challenge. And another cool thing is so to get a check mark, you have to complete every module. So on the code challenge, you have to upload it to the group forum. A cool little thing about the course is everybody in your course, you can see their posts. So as somebody in your class uploads their post or their code, you can go in and check and see what they've done. Also, other people in the course can come in and they can give you tips and pointers after you post your challenge code, and they can maybe help you out if you are having problems. So that is a kind of cool thing. But anyway, code challenge in module 3, like I said, kind of brings everything that you've learned together and shows you, what your new capabilities are with CSS. After that, so yeah, looking at it, this week was pretty short again. So after the module 3 and the code challenge, it goes into challenge questions. So I believe they're going to have these challenge questions every week. The challenge questions, they really help you understand what you're learning in a theoretical type of sense. So they're questions, and they dive a little bit deeper into the concepts of the language and what they really mean. The structure, at least in weeks 1 and 2, they'll basically list a whole bunch of questions. So once again, like I said, you have to upload and complete each assignment in the modules to move forward. In the challenge question section, they will list usually like 1 to 10, or maybe anywhere from like 1 to 10 questions. You don't have to go through and answer every question, but it usually has you to go through and pick 3, and then you have to upload your answer to the forum. And like I said, these are more theoretical. They test really your deeper understanding of the programming language and the syntax, in my opinion. But they can be very helpful, because a lot of the times, or at least in week 2, by the end of the challenge, I completed the challenge, and made a lot more sense to me, but there were still a lot of holes in my knowledge base of the language. So going through this and seeing all the questions, it really helps to give you a better understanding of what you're actually, typing when you're in CSS. And like I said, there's going to be a large list of questions every week, and you only have to choose 1 to 3 to upload. But like I said earlier, once people start posting, it's the same as in the challenge to the questions. Everybody has to post their answers to the forum. So you may answer 1, 2, 3. Somebody else will answer 4 through 6. So you get to see the answers to all these questions, and they back up your knowledge and really, your understanding of the language. They go a little bit deeper than a lot of the lessons do. So yes, the challenge questions section during each week is very helpful. Okay, so after the challenge questions, after you answer those and upload that, there's another little module. It's optional. You don't necessarily have to do it if you want, but I won't go into that, but there's an optional challenge after that. You don't have to do it, but if you want to and want to get a better understanding of the language, you can do the optional challenge. I opted to, and now looking at it, I'm seeing who else in my class posted. It looks like only myself and 2 other people attempted the challenge. So if you are taking the course, like I said, the more you look at it, the more you practice and do, the better you're going to be at it. So I would suggest at least attempting the code challenge. Anyway, so after the optional code challenge, you have to take your weekly quiz. You have to get a 9 out of 10 to pass and move on to the next module. I won't go into detail of the actual questions, but they just test your knowledge base of the language to make sure you have an understanding of the basics. Nothing crazy, just 10 questions. I think you have to get a grade to pass 6 out of 10, so 60%. Nothing crazy here. So after that, after the quiz every week, it looks like they're going to be given a survey. In the survey, it just kind of asks, I think it's really for NuCamp. They want to gauge how much you really understand about the lessons. I think they also want to kind of gauge and see how effective their lessons were. So this is really just the feedback section. They're not really testing you on anything. You just go in, put what you think, what you thought of the course, and how much you understand of the new language so far before going into the live workshop on Saturday. And yeah, that's pretty much it. After that is the live workshop. So the modules for this week, it was not, there was a lot more information this week. Like I said, you're going to be overloaded. If you've never seen CSS, if you've never seen the language or the syntax, it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks at first. But NuCamp, they do a good job. They go slow to help you, get acquainted with it, to kind of learn. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be a lot more information. The pace is about the same, but just the amount of, just new info that you have to take in. At first, it can be a little bit overwhelming, but just stick with it, and it is doable. Like I said, it's a lot of info, but it's still a pretty short week. It's not going to take you 3 hours a day of studying to get through week 2. But if you want to have like a very, very good understanding of what is going on with the language, a basic understanding of the language, I would say that 3 hours is a minimum of study. I would say I did close to the 3 hours. I maybe came 2 or 3 hours short. And my understanding of the language is still not where I would want it to be. But like I said, it's just so much information. I think I have an understanding of the base concepts of what is going on. But if you said just go in and you gave me something blank and you said go in with CES, modify it, do this, do that, do this, there is no way, yeah, I'm ready. It's just a lot of information. So after week 2, I do feel like I know a lot more about CSS, but I mean, of course, no, I'm not proficient in the language. I mean, it's only honestly less than a week of actually looking at the syntax and learning it. So there's really no way you can actually be proficient in it in that short amount of time. So I'm not gonna. I mean, you can't really knock NuCamp for that. I mean, it's only a week of learning a language. There's no way you're gonna get it all. But I do feel confident in my base knowledge of what CSS is, some of the capabilities it has, and my ability to look up information if I wanted to go into a page and modify its layout. I do feel that I have enough of a basic fundamental knowledge of it to progress and learn more, if that makes sense. So kudos to NuCamp, good on that. But yeah, you're gonna have to put in a lot more work and self-study this week. You're gonna have to go way past the modules if you're gonna want a really solid, firm understanding of this language. And a lot of the exercises and the challenges I was talking about, they do, in a sense, kind of hold your hand through it. It's not as bad as some of the free courses that I've seen and gone through, where you just go in and manipulate the text of the code, but they do, in a way, it's kind of holding your hand. And like I said, it's only a week of learning this, so they have to. But yeah, it's really more of showing you the capabilities. If you want to really get a deep understanding of what you're doing and what CSS is really all about and what it can really do, I mean, you're going to have to go deeper and study more yourself. I mean, like this is only the Web Development Fundamentals course. This is not really a real boot camp. So this is really, yeah, just the fundamentals. So they do a good job at teaching you the fundamentals, but like I said, you're going to have to put in a lot more work. But the week 2 gives you the base knowledge to really go forward and learn more with the language. A little bit about the workshop assignment. It was good. It showed you, it was kind of like a real world experience. The setup, it was like you were given a project by an employer. So the employer was like, here, I would like you to design this. So they gave you like a design of a page. And they were like, so, all right, here's the design we want. Now you make it, which HTML and CSS. So that was pretty cool. It was realistic, in my opinion. So I didn't even know that's how things worked. I thought the web developer, the client would just come in and say, hey, I want a web page. And the web developer did everything. That's not the case from what I learned. Usually, from what they were telling us, they have someone else actually design the page, like draw everything, have everything laid out. And they actually give you the design as the developer, and you just go in, type in the code, and actually make the page, the already pre-designed page. So I thought that was pretty cool how they showed that aspect of the business or the industry. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, it kind of walked you through. So they gave you the design in the workshop assignment. You get the design, and it gives you kind of like a walkthrough of the code and how it's put together. They do hold your hand in a sense, but you still are going to you're going to really need to understand the base knowledge and concepts of the language if you're going to want to get through this workshop. Like if you don't understand some of the terminology and what is really going on behind the page with the syntax, you are going to really struggle with getting through the assignment. So hopefully that makes sense. So they do kind of walk you through it, giving you the code, but they give you directions on how to manipulate it. And it's not straightforward. Like I said, you really have to understand the language, some of the different functions and what's going on in the code to be able to follow their instructions. So that was very interesting and good. So, I mean, at the end of week 2, if somebody just gave me a page and said, here, go into CSS and design it, there's no way I'd be able to do it. But I have I don't know how to explain this, a base knowledge. If somebody who did understand the code were to give me some kind of step-by-step instructions, I would be able to follow through and understand what they are telling me. So you're not going to be able to just blow through week 2 and not understand anything and just follow the instructions to get through the assignment. That's not going to work. Like when they tell you to do something, you're going to have no idea what that means if you don't go through the lessons and really understand what you're doing. So I would say week 2 is not really so much about learning CSS, the syntax, and being dangerous. I would say it's more about getting a basic understanding of its capabilities and the terminology and the structure, the basic structure of the language. So, yeah, I would say that wraps it up. So yeah, the total review for week 2, tons more information. You're going to have to, study a lot more for it to make sense. The modules overall, still nothing, it wasn't crazy. Like once again, you're not going to have to study for 3 hours just to get through week 2. But if you're gonna want to have a very good understanding of the new language, you are going to want to commit as much time as you possibly can. I would say probably more than 3 hours a day. But yeah, overall, it's pretty cool. At the end of the day, I learned new things. So at the end of week 1, I could put together a basic web page. At the end of week 2, I can go in to that basic web page and kind of configure it, like lay it out better, make it look more appealing, change the colors, change the font, do some cool things with it. So yeah, week 2, a lot more information. You're going to feel like your head is going to explode at times, but stick with it. You'll make it through. And yeah, at the end, when you go back in and start playing around, you'll see that you learned a lot of new cool things. But anyway, thank you for checking video number 2 out. Stay tuned for week 3 and what I believe will be JavaScript. Until next time, bye.